I'm going to be talking about aquaponics and just everything about it. So what is aquaponics? So it's a system in which the waste produced by like farmed fish and other animals give nutrients to the plants hydroponically, which also purifies the water. And it's basically crops grown with no soil and just in water, and uh, nutrients comes from the fish. So this is different from hydroponics because hydroponics has nutrients added to the water as opposed to aquaponics, which the nutrients comes from like fish waste and just the fish living there because it's a closed ecosystem and it supports each other. So these are the basic things that plants need, like water, nutrients, air, light, and temperature. So I'm just going to talk about the difference between how the plants get it through aquaponics and how they get it from soil. So with water and nutrients, plants absorb nutrients and water through their roots, which I think we know, but they can only absorb the nutrients if there's water present. So soil farming requires rain or watering for absorption, but in aquaponics, it's already in water, so it can absorb water and nutrients at all times. And the air, obviously plants need air to grow. Yeah. And in soil farming, they get oxygen when they're draining and they're not being watered. So when they're more dry. And in aquaponics, they have a base level of oxygen, which is either through the motion of the fish that oxygenate the water, or oxygen can be added to the water as well. So there's always oxygen there as well. And light, they both have similar things. They both get light from either sunlight or artificial light if it's indoor. So that's just the same for both of those. And same for temperature, like plants grow at different temperatures and they have their own ways of adjusting with, and that could be like covering it with a tarp or putting it in a greenhouse or indoor. But they're similar in those ways. So the history of aquaponics is actually dates back to 1000 AD, and it's from the Aztec Indians that grew plants on rafts in Chinampas, which is the agricultural island. And so they would grow plants on these rafts, and those roots would hang down into the water, and the fish would fertilize the crops. And that was like the first like known aquaponics. But then in the 1990s, aquaponics began to grow, especially in Australia, and has evolved and expanded a lot in recent years, which is why you can go to the grocery store and see like produce labeled like grown with hydroponics or aquaponics. I think it usually says hydroponics, but um, yeah. And there's a lot of benefits of aquaponics compared to like traditional soil farming, like low water and power usage, and it can save 90% or more water compared to soil farming, which seems like it would be the opposite because it's always in water. But with soil farming, it drains and a lot of the water is evaporated and goes to waste. Um, so it's much has a higher productivity with aquaponics. And it also needs little to no chemicals, which a lot of chemicals are used in traditional farming to keep like pests away and diseases. And it's also used in hydroponics, which gives it the nutrients. It's also pretty easy to grow. And like I mentioned earlier, is a full ecosystem. So it just, the fish supports the plants and the plants support the fish. And like I mentioned, the pests and diseases are minimal because I would say it's more typically indoors, but there are outdoor ones. And there's increased crop yield and it's 10% more productive than traditional farming. And the fish can also be harvested as well, which I think is cool. So you can get both produce and fish from it. So at UNCW, there's a 250-gallon tank, aquaponics tank in WAG, which you've probably seen but not known what it is because I didn't know what it was. And the campus dining utilizes the produce in it. And I was talking to Matt Rogers, who now works for Airmark, but had a lot to do with getting this started. And they got a $5,000 grant to start this, and he started one in his backyard, and used different types of fish and figured out, I don't remember what fish he used at first, but figured out that they jump. So that was a learning curve for them to figure out which type of fish would be best to go in the tank. And then later on, CMS developed special fish food for it. And it's supposed to be used as an educational tool, which I think it has to some extent, but I think it could definitely be utilized more because I, for one, did not know about it. But I think it's a really cool system that more students and faculty and staff should know about because, yeah. But that's pretty much it. That's what I had on aquaponics.